All right, hey guys, I'm Joey Ramos. I'm part of the leadership team for the North Texas Tableau user group, and I have Tim Cady with me.
Yeah, so
So we have,
I'm the
go
other
ahead.
half of the leadership team, as Joey mentioned, for this North Texas group. So one of the things we do in North Texas is we focus a lot on real-world examples. Because of that, we came up with a sort of bit that we do every month that we call Tableau in the Real World. Where we take specific Tableau functions, actions, and dates, as you can see for this specific demo, and show how you might apply them in a real business setting. So that's a little bit about what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, so this catchy title comes from Tim. It's Get Your Dashboard, More Action with These Dates. And just like Eric just mentioned, we use a lot of navigation buttons. So up here, we'll just use that to proceed to our next dashboard. All right, so like Tim mentioned, we started a segment probably this time last year, called Tableau in the Real World. Basically, as it says here, we just want to sort of demonstrate how to apply Tableau functionality to real world scenarios, right? We all have day jobs and we have managers and executives come to us and say, hey, I want a dashboard with X, Y, and Z functionality. And then what we do is we turn around and try to say, okay, so I want to ask you this, if your client needs this, this is how, you could go about, answering those questions or providing that functionality.
And during these short demos, we're not going to focus too much on design or layout or how the visual looks. We're really trying to emphasize the actual functionality of the tool. So forgive us if these visuals look a little rough. But you want to go ahead and, yeah. So the scenario we're going to go through today, our boss has asked us to create a year-over-year, period-over-period analysis for him or her. So what they're going to want for that analysis is they want to be able to pick their date range. They don't want anything anchored or fixed. They're going to have a dynamic axis. Of course, that means being able to switch between day, month, quarter, and year. This is something I'm sure you all have issues with, is it needs to be interactive, but people always want to print for some reason or export to PDFs. We're going to do a couple comparisons, one being discrete, one being continuous. And there's a few things we're going to need to create all this, right? We're going to need that dynamic two-date calculation. We're going to need a couple parameters to establish our date ranges. We're going to need parameter actions. And we're going to leverage, I believe we're going to leverage a Tableau date updater extension. We're going to show that off a little bit.
All right. All right, similar time. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to a fresh workbook. And please note we are using Superstore. And we're using version 2020.1. All right, Tim, you want to take it?
Yeah, so I'll walk you through kind of the steps of what I want to do here on this first one. So the first thing, let's go ahead and throw, you have average sales there. Let's go ahead and throw that on columns. And on rows, let's do a discrete month of our order date. Go ahead and make that a bar chart if you would. All right. So right now, this is just showing average sales by month. What we're going to do is actually leverage a set action to compare year over year. So what we need to do is first create a calculated field that breaks our order date out by year. To do that, we're just going to go ahead and type year. Yep. Year of order date, perfect. And we are going to, yep, made that a dimension. So we're going to actually create a set based off of that new dimension we have now. And for now, we can go ahead and include all. Later on, when we apply the set action, that's when we'll be changing the year. And just to prepare us for later, let's go ahead and put that, that set on size and color. Those are the two things we want to leverage here as our set changes. All right. And one last thing that we need to do before we leave this page, when we apply the set action as is, it's going to try to stack the in and out on top of each other. So we're going to take stack marks off in our analysis menu. Perfect. So at this point, we have nothing to generate that action off of. So we're going to create a second sheet, if you would, Joey. Just a second sheet with maybe year of order date on text. Year.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, year of order date. That's what drives the set. And now we're going to have to go ahead and put both of these in a dashboard together.
That's a bad title, sorry.
No, that's okay.
So I'm going to float this on here.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep. So as is, yeah, let's go ahead and
do something like that just for the demo.
yeah. So as is interacting with those dates, clicking on 2020 or 2019 at this point does nothing. What we want to do is actually create the set action by going to dashboard, dashboard actions, and add a change set value action right there at the bottom. We want this action to impact both sheets. It's coming from our target set of the orders sample superstore. And we only have one set in there, so we're going to go ahead and use set year. Yep, go ahead and hit OK. So now, once Joey interacts with 2020 or 2019, it's going to show what's in and out of that set. So in essence, what we're comparing are the averages of 2019 for any particular month to the averages of the other 3 remaining years. So this helps us in our full-time jobs, helps us establish some seasonality with traffic, in particular flight traffic. So this is something we would use in our kind of day-to-day lives. One thing that is missing here though, is our year-to-date filter. Right now it's showing all of 2020 because we've faked some dates here. So what we're going to actually do is go ahead and put in a year-to-date field. Yeah, let's go ahead and create another calculated field. And this calculation is going to be a date part, where we're going to be taking the day of year. What this is going to do is count how many days into the year each month is, or each day rather. And we only want to keep values that are less than the count that is today. So for example, if we're 160 days into the year, we only want to keep values that are less or equal to that. Perfect. So if we go ahead and put that on filters and hit true, that's now showing us through April of 2020. Go ahead and go back to our dashboard there and interact with that filter one more time. So it's showing us 2018, right, is the blue value that's in the set. The remaining 3 years are out of the set, and it's only showing data through, what are we, April 16th? So only showing data through April 16th. So that's a real quick way to leverage set actions when doing a year-over-year analysis. A real quick visual you can put together for that. We have sort of a finished version here of something we might create for using Superstore rather. Joey will walk you through some of those actions and how they're changing the other visuals.
Yeah, so we have a set action up here, just like Tim just demonstrated, that allows the individual to compare whatever year they select to the average sales of all other years, year to date through April 16th for each year. Down here right now, our access is looking at by day. So you can do the running sum by day. You can see 2019. I don't have my access showing here, but at some point took over the average for the other years, but then later lagged off towards the end of March and April. You can then also, by using a parameter action, date part parameter action, you can also change an axis down here to make it more dynamic. So when the user hovers over it, they're looking by week or by day or by month.
Absolutely. So that was the other action we wanted to focus on. Do you want to hop over to that walkthrough?
Yeah, absolutely. I know we're pretty short on time, so real quick, you know, another thing we get a lot from executives is, hey, I want my, or you know, analysts is, hey, I want my access to be dynamic. So in order to do that, what we have to use is date part parameter actions. And if we go ahead and jump over to a dashboard that I had started, I have a trend here. Let's do this tiled. I have a very simple trend chart with a from date and a to date parameter. What I did was I created a date part sheet. So the way you do that is I brought in a parameter action file. Really simple to create this. If you just jump over to Excel, I created one column date part. So this is what's going to feed the date trunk calculation that we're going to create. And this is how it's going to be displayed to the user. So very simply, I can just control this, control C this, go back to my demo and just control V it. It'll bring in that file. As a clipboard, all I did was rename it parameter action file. And here you can see the data that it brought in. Go ahead and just close this. I already have it. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to drag this. We'll just float it up here. All right, and then for the sake of time, let's real quick create a parameter based off that date part. We're going to populate it from that data source, parameter action, date part. Go ahead and click OK. Now what I want to do is, in order to make this axis dynamic, I have to create a calculation that I'm going to call order date access. And basically, it's just going to be a date trunk utilizing this parameter and an order date. I'm going to make this a continuous exact date. And so if I go ahead and show this up here, you can see, now we've all probably used this before, right? This is nothing new. I can have a dynamic access based off a parameter and based off that calculation I just created. Right now we're looking at it by quarter. Go in here in my title just so that the user knows the level of granularity. Right now it's by quarter, by day. But what we want to do is we want to add a little bit of flair to our dashboard, right? So, and of course we want to make it as interactive as possible. Let me go ahead and show that parameter. So you can see here, what we want to do is by creating this date part sheet, when we click day or hover over day, week, month, we want to pass this date part to this parameter in order to then change the level of granularity of this access. So real quick, go to dashboard actions, change that. So when I click on or hover over my date part sheet, I want to target my date part parameter with my date part column from my parameter action file, and then watch what happens to this parameter, and then watch what happens to the access. Now, when the user hovers over this, they can change the level of granularity of that access. And if you can real quick, take a look at, here's a finished product. A lot of what Eric says about, adding flair and adding buttons, it really helps the customer experience. So we've got, of course, some buttons up here, navigate. We have, so here's the old, we don't need this anymore, right? Because now we're changing that parameter based off the parameter action. So let's get rid of that. Also, we have over here to the left, it tells you which period you're viewing. And also one thing I did want to say that we do also have in here a button. So we were talking earlier, Eric was talking earlier about the collapsible containers. This is a collapsible container that actually has a GIF that shows the user how to use the dashboard. And it's just on a repeat loop. So sorry, a little crunch for time. Does anyone have any questions? Also, real quick, we want to give credit where credit is due. Tim, working with Tim's been great because he brings a lot of new ideas to me. And then Tim wanted to make sure that we gave credit for inspiration to Kevin Fleurlange's blog.
Yeah, so this date part parameter idea, I had seen it on one of Kevin's visits, and I thought it'd be great for what we do kind of in our full-time gigs. So it's something we started leveraging quite a bit.
So guys, great job. Well, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. There was one question, Joey, about the grayscale on the bar chart. So if you could hop back over to
I'm sorry, on what scale?
The grayscale on the bar chart. So it's
okay.
the out values. So the gray part that you see there is everything that's outside of the set. So it's 2017, 18, and 2020. So basically everything that's not selected currently. And that's average sales, in this case, for those months, for those specific years.
All right, any more questions?
I think that was the only one.
All right, I will.